All right, so you're an entrepreneur and you're looking at Romania. You've probably heard the term SRL thrown around a lot. Well, there's a good reason for that. It's the go-to business structure. And in this explainer, we are going to break down exactly how you can set one up step by step for 2025. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll dig into why the SRL is such a smart move. Then we'll get practical with your pre-launch checklist. After that, it's the main event, the 5-phase registration process. We'll also cover the common mistakes people make so you can avoid them. And finally, we'll look at how to set your company up for the future. Think of this as your complete roadmap to a successful launch. Okay, first things first. Let's tackle the big why. Why this specific structure? Understanding the strategy behind the choice is really the first step in making a solid business decision. So, what's the deal here? Why is the SRL such a hot ticket for entrepreneurs across the EU? It's not just that it's popular, it's that it's strategic. Whether you're a startup, a small to medium enterprise, or an international investor, the SRL just hits that perfect sweet spot of protection and flexibility. Let's dig into what makes it so powerful. Okay, so this is where the magic happens. First up, limited liability. This is huge. It means your personal stuff, your house, your car is shielded from business debts. Absolutely critical. It's also way, way simpler to run than a big joint stock company. And because it's so flexible, it works for pretty much everyone, from startups to established businesses. Plus, you get full access to the EU single market, and the whole system is famously welcoming to foreign investors. All right, so we've got the why nailed down. Now, let's get into the how. A successful launch always starts with a rock-solid foundation. Before you even think about drafting a single document, you gotta do the prep work. This is where you build the blueprint for your entire company. This chart just spells it out perfectly, doesn't it? Look at the PFA, the sole proprietorship. It comes with unlimited personal liability. That's a massive risk. Then you've got the other extreme, the SR or joint stock company, which needs about 90,000 RON just to get started. Way too steep for most. And right there in the middle is the SRL. Full liability protection, and for 2025, no minimum capital. It's that perfect sweet spot. And yeah, let's zoom in on that share capital rule for a second. For 2025, there's no legal minimum. You just declare an amount you think is appropriate. Now, you could technically start with just a few RON, but here's a little pro tip for you. A modest investment is a really smart move. Why? Well, it shows banks and business partners that you're serious, that you have some skin in the game, and that can make all the difference when you're looking for that first loan or trying to land a big client. Okay, beyond the money, these are your next big decisions. You'll need to figure out your shareholders. You can have anywhere from 1 to 50. You have to appoint at least one director, and you've got to have a legal address in Romania. Virtual offices are a super popular option for this. Then comes the really crucial stuff, reserving a unique company name that ends in SRL and defining what your business actually does using these official KAN codes. Getting that list of codes right from the very beginning will save you a world of headaches later on, trust me. All right, blueprint's done. Now it's time for the actual build. This is the heart of our explainer right here. We're going to take what looks like a complicated bureaucratic process and break it down into 5 clear, totally manageable phases. So this is your roadmap for the whole journey. Phase 1 is all that early planning and locking in your company name. Phase 2 is where you draft the legal backbone, your articles of association. In Phase 3, you submit the whole package to the trade registry. Phase 4 is for all the little things after you're approved, like banking. And Phase 5, that's when you hit the ground running with operations and compliance. Let's take a closer look. So these first 2 phases, they are all about getting your ducks in a row. This is where you reserve that name you want, finalize your address, and most importantly, draft the articles of association. Seriously, this document is like the constitution for your company, so paying a meticulous attention to every single detail here is just non-negotiable. And here's where all becomes real. In these last 3 phases, you submit your complete file to the ORNC. That's the National Trade Registry Office. Once they give you the thumbs up, you move on to the post-registration stuff, like opening your bank account and getting your tax registration sorted. And from that point on, you're officially in business, ready to operate while keeping up with all the ongoing compliance. Okay, let's talk brass tacks. How long does this all take, and what's it going to cost? This slide gives you a pretty realistic picture. You'll notice the official review by the ONRC is actually quite fast, about 3 working days, if your file is perfect. The parts that can vary are the legal fees for drafting your documents and any special permits your specific business might need. But all in all, if things go smoothly, you could be up and running in as little as 5 to 10 working days. Okay, while we're on the subject of money, here is a number you absolutely need to commit to memory as your business grows. 89,500 euros. This is your magic number for vets. As soon as your company's annual turnover hits the equivalent of this in Romanian leu, registering for VAT becomes mandatory. It's a huge financial milestone you need to be tracking from day one.
All right, let's talk about the real world for a second. We're getting into the long game now. I mean, setting up a company is one thing, but doing it without costly, frustrating delays is another thing entirely. Let's look at the most common traps people fall into, and more importantly, how you can sidestep them completely.
You want to know the number one thing that trips people up? The thing that causes the most rejections and delays? It's almost always simple paperwork mistakes. A misspelled name, a missing signature, the wrong form. Any little thing can send your application right back to the starting line. It's so frustrating. So how do you avoid this headache? It's all about prevention. Double check everything, then triple check it. Make absolutely sure those CAIN codes perfectly match what your business is actually going to do. But honestly, the smartest strategy? Have a legal professional review your entire file before you even think about submitting it. It's the best insurance policy you can get against these kinds of unforced errors. Okay, pitfall number 2. This one's specifically for our non-resident founders. If you're coming from outside Romania, there's just an extra layer of complexity, especially with documents and banking, that can cause some unique delays if you're not ready for it. So, how do you get ahead of this? Simple, proactive planning. You have to budget extra time for things like getting documents notarized, apostilled, or translated. When it comes to banking, using a law firm that helps with remote account opening can be a total game changer. The absolute key is to confirm every single requirement for non-residents before you even start the process. Okay, so you've done it. You're registered, you've sidestepped the common mistakes. So what's next? A truly professional setup means looking ahead. Let's talk about what's coming down the pipeline and how you can make sure your company isn't just built for today, but is ready for tomorrow too.
Pay attention here, because this is probably the biggest change on the horizon. Right now, in 2025, there's no minimum share capital, but there are proposed reforms that could bring in a requirement of around 8,000 RON for any new companies formed from January 2026. This is a big deal, and it means acting in 2025 could be a real advantage. It's something every future founder needs to have on their radar.
And really, that brings us right back to the central theme of this whole explainer, doesn't it? It's not just about getting that certificate of registration. It's about the quality of the work you put in beforehand. That thorough professional preparation is what ensures a smooth launch, for sure, but it's also what creates a resilient, compliant company that's ready for the long term. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Getting your SRL registered is step 1. That's today. But building a structure that can actually adapt to new rules, that can scale up with your ambitions, and that can truly support your business goals for years to come, that's the real challenge. And that right there is the real opportunity.